Greetings, everyone. My name is Stephen Neely. I'm your host today for the virtual Dalcros meetup. Um, my colleagues, Emma Shubin and Veronica Bileski, send their best. I think Emma might be able to show up today, and I know Veronica's teaching just at this hour today. So it's really nice to greet everyone who's live on the Zoom and our friends who will watch after the fact. We've got a couple nice things going today. With such a small group, if the people in the room, oh, there's 9 people here. I think that's a good reason to do our normal routine, which is we're going to break into 2 quick breakout rooms and let everybody in the room have 2 minutes tops to introduce themselves. Would you please say your name and where are you located and who do you teach, or who did you used to teach, or who do you wish you taught, or something about what do you do wherever you're located. So I'm going to very quickly pull up a breakout room here. And if you all would say hi to each other, and I'm going to call you back in literally like 2 minutes. You don't have much time today. Ready, set, and go. Hey everyone, welcome back. So I hope you had a chance to meet a person or two. And we've got a really nice little agenda today. Before we get into our main content, I want to remind everyone that we have a masterclass scheduled this weekend with Lauren Hodgson. If you haven't had a chance to work with Lauren, she's sort of one of our favorite up-and-comers. She's been doing really cool work, and she's the new eurythmics instructor at Baldwin Wallace College, taking over for Mary Dobria Grindal. And so we're really excited for all the work that Lauren's been doing. She and Anthony Molinaro are the co-hosts and founders of the new Dalcrosian Podcast. And if you've not listened to every episode of the new Dalcrosian, I highly recommend it. Really, I found it just a real joy to get to listen to the two of them and to hear their interviews and their banter back and forth. I think it's absolutely valid. One of the most exciting things that's been going on in our community the last year or so. And so by all means, find the new Dalcrosian and you'll get to hear a little bit of Lauren in advance. And then Lauren's going to do really a pedagogy session. Her masterclass is going to be wrapped around sort of lesson planning and really thinking about how we interact with our students in the room. Her recent research, she just finished a Master of Music Education, which involved a lot of these sorts of thinkings, not only what are the traditions of a Dalcros classroom, but really what are her specific sort of angle is what are practices and really thoughtful ways we can continue to honor these practices while we address our modern students. And so I think anybody who's working in classroom settings would really benefit to attend Lauren's class. If you can show up live, it will be here in the East Coast. It's in the evening. It will be at 9:30 on the East Coast of the States. If you're in Europe or Africa, it's going to be the middle of the night for you. And so you might want to register and just watch the recording or stay up late. And for anybody in Japan or Australia or Taiwan or any of those places, it'll be right in the middle of the day for you. So we want to, again, encourage everybody to join Lauren this Saturday or maybe Sunday, depending on which time zone you're in.
How do you register?
You register through the virtual Dalcros meetup. So if you go to virtualdalcros.org, right away there's hey, we're doing master classes and register here. So again, virtualdalcros.org and look for master classes and you can click in. And it's we believe it's very affordable, although if anybody needs scholarship or if you have colleagues or associates who you think this would be really good for them, but they just don't have any money for this, let us know and we do our very best to honor all the scholarship requests. And if you're feeling at the opposite end of the spectrum and you want to help support the scholarships, there's a way to do that through that registration site as well. And we have a lot of really generous colleagues who every time they register for themselves, they always throw in another registration or two for one of the scholarships, which is a really nice gesture. So again, so Lauren's thing is coming up just this weekend. We also have a third version of a short course with Dawn Pratzen. If you don't know Dawn, she's been a regular at the VDM, and she's one of our favorite people here in the United States in the Dalcros circles. She's going to continue her series called Dance with Dawn, where she's really getting into big body gesture techniques and ways that we use expressive gesture in our teaching. It's suitable for people of any sort of movement background and of various abled bodies. And so if you regardless of who you are, what your prior dance background is, spending some time with Dawn Pratzen is always really exciting. So we encourage you to sign up for Dawn's short course that starts at the end of September, September 25, 26. You can also register for that at virtualdalcros.org. And so those are our opening announcements. Christine, is that a question?
I just wanted to say that I did Dawn's second series, and I signed up for the third, and it's just wonderful. I advise anybody to do it. I was afraid to do it the first time because I thought dance, but it's great. It's for everyone. You don't have to be, I mean, I'm a Dalcros certificate, but I still don't feel great with my body in spite of that. But it's just great, and I got so many ideas, and I use so many of her things. So
yeah, she's such a vibrant person. And we just love it working with her. And so anytime we can get work or time in the room with Dawn Pratzen, it's always valuable. So again, I encourage everybody here and watching after the fact, consider signing up for the short course with Dawn. I think you'll find it informs your own practice and gives you some ideas on how you might work with whoever your students are. Before we have just one last little bit, we have a scholarship recipient who made a little student reflection that we wanted to share with everyone. It takes, I think it's 3 minutes here. So let me quickly find it. Here it is. Whoop. I don't want to start without us. So let me share my screen. And let's see if we can make that big. There you go. And let me go back. Sorry, let me fix it. I got to do one more. I didn't hit the rest button. There's a button, share my sound as well as share my screen. So we will do that. Oh, for goodness sakes, now I lost it. You'd think I'd never done this before. Let's try again. And now, thank you all for your patience. Almost there. For goodness sakes, what am I missing?
I think this is good for us, Steve, and we all go through this.
I know, it's so weird. I just had it on my screen and now it's not there. So let's try again. I got this on my screen. And now I go to here and we say share, and it should just appear. There it is. Okay. And we're going to share the sound and optimize for video and make it big. And here you go.
Hello everyone. I am Nana and I'm from Vietnam. Today I'm here to share what I got from VDM community, Virtual Dalcros Meetup community. You know, I've been familiar with the Dalcros approach for almost 2 years, but it's only been almost a year since I joined the Virtual Dalcros Meetup community. It also happened by accident. That is when I asked a teaching community, does anyone have experience in combining piano teaching with a Dalcros approach? And a friend answered me. And from this friend, I know about Virtual Dalcros Meetup, and I start to watch a lot of recorded meetings on their channel on YouTube. It was a great encouragement and also a place where I can learn many creative ideas. However, not stopping there. By applying for a scholarship from Vital Downgrowth Meetup, I was able to attend master classes of extremely excellent experts in this field. It must be said that a lot of activities in my class has been inspired by wonderful teachers such as Miss Carrie Greenhead, Miss Francois Lombard, Miss Helen Nicolette, Mr. Stephen Moore, and many other teachers. And after the lesson with the teachers, my motivation is strong. And especially I want to create something for my teaching, online for students. And there have been good results for my students when I start to teach with movement. And then when you hear music stop, you have to stop immediately. All right, are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay, let's go. So this is a very good warm-up. And the key of this game is you try to move with the music. Okay, you listen to the music, to the flow, and you move with the flow. Okay, good. Now let's ready and see what's coming. 1, 2, 3, go. And the mouse.
Good. And I'm going to pause there. The full video is available at the virtual Dalcrosien Meetup archive page. If you go to our YouTube link, which you can find through our main website, you can go there and you can watch this. It's a 7-minute video. Nana has attended many of our meetups, and we were so pleased to get her just her sharing of what some of the work has meant and some examples of what she's been doing. So I encourage everybody to go and watch the rest of the video. And thank you to Nana for sharing those ideas. Tonight or today or whatever time of day it is we have 2 main things that we wanted to get to. We've invited our dear friend Cynthia Lilly to join us and to just talk with us a little bit about some of what she does and has done and what she's been interested in. Cynthia, if you've not worked with her, is a powerhouse. I mean, she's just one of our most esteemed colleagues, and we are looking forward to Cynthia doing a masterclass for us sometime in the coming year. So we're just now negotiating with her for the timing of that, but we're really excited that she has said that she would do a masterclass, and we're extra thrilled that she was willing to give us a couple minutes today just to help us let people who haven't met her have a chance to meet, and for the rest of us just to have a little bit of time to hang out. And then at the end, I think we'll have enough time. We have another small video by Catherine Kay, who was here at the beginning just for a couple minutes. I'm not sure that Catherine, she might still be here, but oh, there she is. So Catherine, actually, Catherine, you had mentioned that maybe you can't stay to the end. So do you want to give us just like a 1-minute little intro? And then I have the write-up that you did, and we're going to share those words with everyone as well as watch the video, and then we'll get to talk about it at the end. Did you want to say anything more right now, just in case you aren't back? Nope, we're...
Just that it's my little... It was my kind of creative outlet in lockdown. So it was made a couple of years ago, but I can't be here for the meeting, so I thought I'd share this instead.
Thank you. So we're really excited to I think we'll have time at the end to have a little bit of time to look at that. And so there you go. Thank you so much, Catherine. Cynthia, I hand it over to you. The floor is yours. And you've got whatever you want. You got 10 minutes or whatever works for you.
Okay. I hope that this is a sharing, that is to say, I don't want to do all the talking. And really, when I was asked by Veronica to do something about beginnings, how do you start the year? So I thought a little bit about that. Nothing I'm saying is going to be new to you people, but I think it's important to remember how these little things really matter. And one of them that I want to talk about is just the simple business of where students are when and how you get them there. In my classroom, by the way, I'm not teaching children anymore, but this is based on many, many years of teaching. They are not allowed, that's a negative way of putting it. They wait to move in the classroom until it's time for them. So in my classroom, kids are not invited to come in and run around and chase each other and do whatever. It works for some teachers, but for me, I really want to set a tone that this is not playtime, or it's a different kind of playtime. So students arrive at the back of the room with the shoes off, and they cannot come into the room until I invite them. And usually I invite them with a song that I teach them at the beginning of the year and becomes just a melody. And it is the Pavlovian Get Into a Circle song. And mine goes, come into a circle, come into a circle, come into a circle before I say stop. That's all. And I learned it from a wonderful Orff teacher, Avon Gillespie, late Avon. I like the song because it's simple. It has repetition, and it is in itself a game, because when I get to before I say, I can lengthen that a very long time, especially at the piano on a nice 5/7 chord, while little Jimmy finally finds his way to the circle. And when they're all there, and in my case holding hands, then I can say, sing stop. So I use this little melody to get them in a circle. And it really does become Pavlovian. It would be very hard for them not to get into a circle. I don't have to sing it after the first couple of lessons. I just play it on the piano. So we begin in an orderly but playful fashion. It's a game. Can they get to the circle in time? Can they hold hands? Can they drop hands on the word stop? And before I go on from there, I just want to talk a little bit about where else in the room would they be when they're stopped. One place would be at the piano, for instance. I don't want them in a circle for that. I want them really at my feet as I'm playing the piano and maybe teaching them a song or doing some activity where I need to be close by them. So I have a melody for that too, which I remember from my own kindergarten teacher. Everyone come to the piano. They hear that and immediately they come to the piano. It's so useful. Another one is in my classroom. I'm lucky enough, it's big enough that I can have chairs on the edges of the, against the walls. And there they have an assigned seating. And it's my chance to split Jimmy and Johnny up or put them where they can't even see each other. It's a place where they can sit when they watch another group move, when they're in half groups. And that's, please go back to your chairs. And they know that one too. So just by playing the piano, these three melodies, I can get them where I want them to go. It's a game. Can they get there in time? You all know this. It has it way over. All right, kids, time for a circle. Let's go. Wait, Jimmy, the circle over here. And the same thing with the piano, and the same thing with getting to your seats. You really don't want to use your voice that way. And music, as we all know, is magic. It can command them in the nicest way. Later on, we can actually figure out what those melodies are. What are the numbers, the syllables, and so forth. But at the beginning, it's just they recognize the melody without having analyzed it. And they do it. So here they are in a circle again. Well, you all know, will you please sit down? That is the most wonderful 5-note command there is. And down they go. Will you please stand up? I'm sure we all use something like that, the 5-note scale. And once again, it's a crowd control or student control kind of thing, and it becomes a game. And I can change the tempo, and I can just go da 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 da. So they're following me, and they know what they're doing, and if they're listening, they're going to do it just fine. When I take roll, I use that 5-note scale, and usually it's often something like, hello, Stephen, and he'll sing back, hello, Cynthia, and then everybody sings, Stephen's here today, which is that wonderful 5-note scale. So they're practicing their 5-note scale. And notice it's really important to have them all be doing something when this roll taking happens. So they're not just sitting around waiting for their own name and probably, or could quite possibly getting into mischief. Each time they need to be able to sing the 5-note scale. The da, 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 da. That, of course, is the golden third, the minor third. That's the top of a major triad, and everybody in every culture, as far as I know, sings that. But to sing it in tune isn't always so easy at the beginning, and it's a chance for me to work on each kid's voice also. If Stephen sang hello Cynthia, then I will probably sing hello Stephen, and he'll sing it back, and we'll be both in the same place. If Deb sings it right away in the right place, hello Cynthia, I'll then go hello Deb, and she sings hello Cynthia, and then I'll go hello Deb, and she sings it back there because she's so good. Another way we can do this is, let's say that that Jeanette has sung it in a particular voice. Hello, Cynthia. And I ask everybody to sing it just the way Jeanette did. So we're imitating her voice. It may not, I'm sure Jeanette's voice would be much nicer than that, actually. But the point is that suddenly, oh, what I did, everybody else is going to sing too, so that makes me feel really special. And they all imitate that voice. Then maybe somebody else sings in a little sweet, light voice, and we can practice singing in that voice. So just taking roll, again, is a game, but it's also a chance for us to practice our singing, and for students to hear how other students sing, and for each of them to have some agency. I said I didn't want to do all the talking. What's the point of a 5-note scale? I mean, why, if we were in an ORF class, it would probably not be a 5-note scale. It would be probably da 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 da. That is to say, pentatonic, and the same with Kodai. Why do we tend to go straight to the scale? Answers?
Tonality?
Okay, it's a good melody. Is that what
I
you're
said
saying?
tonality, but you sure?
Oh, tonality. Yes, all right. But da dee da 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 is also a tonality. Da 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 da. Sorry, this is my hush.
I think Jeanette has an answer.
Understand that.
I was wondering, because most of the children are in this tonality, the major minor mode.
Yeah.
It's for the children to understand the concept of up and down, the high and low.
I think that's certainly, it's much better than the pentatonic for clearly going up and going down and not missing any notes on the way up or any notes on the way down. Yeah. Anything else? Well, how about tonic and dominant? It's nailing all of that down at a very early age. And when I'm at the piano, I mean, I'll probably play. And there it is, the 1 and the 5/7 chord. Just getting them used to that. In Orphan Kodai, it's much less about harmony. If you're going to be in a pentatonic, you're kind of there to sort of avoid having to deal with those half steps that give us harmony. And I think, and this isn't a criticism of them at all. I was already Orff certified when I started Dalcros, and I thought, that's so interesting. They're not worried about that half step at all. And why, of course, should they be? Since it's a beautiful thing that happens with that major 5-note pentachord.
Cynthia.
Yeah.
Of course, I'm an Orff background too. And a lot of children's songs are in the pentatonic.
That's right, they are.
But also a lot of folk songs just are 1, 4, 5, 7. So getting the 5-note and the tonality, major, minor, again, that prepares them for that, for the songs.
Yes, that's true. That's true. Anyway, I've always been intrigued by that. I think that the scale itself, and by the way, we start with, will you please stand up and will you please sit down? But very quickly it becomes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then do, re, mi, fa, sol, sol, fa, mi, re, do, and so forth. And we can sing it in all these different versions, C, D, E, F, G, eventually. And I mean, think of the sound of the music. Let's start at the very beginning. Do, re, mi, fa, sol. It gives you the building blocks for a whole lot of other melodies too. For instance, I'll just give you an example because I don't want to go on too long. They've been working with da, 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 and eventually they know that's 5, 3, 5, 3, and they've been working with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And if we put the two together, bum, 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 that can be a nice little melody that includes both. And if I decide that's going to be the melody of the day because of where I'm working, I might have them moving around the room while I'm playing a skip or a march or whatever I'm playing, but then I go bum, ba-da-dum, bum, bum on a nice 5/7 chord, and they are to sing back the melody of the day, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 3, 5. By the way, that gives them a chance to stop. They know they're going to have to stop. And then sing, as opposed to just my stopping playing. They can't stop at the same time as me, but I give them the nice little chance to stop. So they'll sing it in different meters, and eventually I'll get into minor, and they'll be singing it back 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 3, 5. Ooh, that's kind of scary. And we can talk about what note changed like that. Eventually, I'm going straight to the Hall of the Mountain King. And a lesson too long to describe here at any length, but that's their introduction to the main melody or the main phrase from the Hall of the Mountain King. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 3, 5. So they've got that. They've got their scale. They've got their top of a triad, but this time it's a minor triad. And after that, we can be trolls and goblins and all sorts of fun things within that lesson. So really all I wanted to emphasize, I think, today is for us to think about how important what we do is. Using music as much as possible to give directions, making sure children know where to go and where to be and to make all of that successful. And then our just wonderful 5-note scale, which can then, easily go into a 6-note, 7-note, and wow, an 8-note scale. All of this is basic, but worth pondering and using. That's it.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Cynthia. It's just a joy to just ask our friends to come around and just share a little bit of, their perspective of what's going on. I mean, what I like so much about this format is it didn't need to be an hour's worth or an hour and a half of things. Really, just in 10 minutes there's tons that we could talk about, and plenty to, to sort of think about how does that work into our teaching at any of our, whoever our different students are. The one that caught me right away was you described your Get Into the Circle song. Would you sing it again? I don't remember what it was.
Come into a circle, come into a circle, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 5, before I say stop.
Nice. And so you offered that to us at the beginning, and then you said it so offhandedly, like it hardly even was a big deal. And it was like, well, and then eventually I just play it. We don't always sing those words. And that's so powerful and such a good reminder, I think, that there's so many modalities that we do experience and that we should be, looking to reinforce, that it isn't just those words or those words in that way, but you showed that there was words, there was, let's do the same thing on numbers, let's do the same thing on solfege syllables, we could picture, make up, let's just do it on la, 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 let's do it just in silence, while we, like, I'm not playing the piano, but we all get it started in our heads, and then we can kind of know it together. What if I'm only playing it at the piano and you're hearing the words but not actually saying them? Or can you mouth the words with making no sound? All of those games that let the student experience the same music but through these different modalities is so powerful. And it's something that isn't just for the children at all. I mean, it's the centerpiece of so much of what it is that we do. I have more to add on that, but before I take up all the space, I think what we're going to do here is we've got about 22 minutes, and I'd like to take like 10 minutes at the end to play with Catherine's little video. So I think we have an easy 10 minutes right now. Does anybody else have any sort of either things that Cynthia got into that just made you think, or questions you might want to have for what she was starting to? Anyone else? Yeah, Jeanette and then Christine.
So thanks, Cynthia. It's very interesting. So I want to ask you, how do you transition this to singing the note names? For example, do, re, mi, do, mi, so.
Oh, I don't know. I think in terms of the 5-note scale, that's where I introduce. You're saying when do I start using solfege syllables? Is that what you're saying? I mean, I certainly do it with the 5-note scale, and often we'll do it like just do, re, do. That's it for one lesson. And again, for roll, instead of singing back to me, I'll say, which one do you want to do? Just do or do and re and do? And and then we'll build it up. The next week we'll add me and so forth. I have to confess, or brag about maybe, using the hand signals, the Kodai hand signals. I find them invaluable. I think probably Dalcros would have too. Again, it's something physical they're doing. It's also something visual, and it really helps solidify all of that. So,
do you think it's too early to very beginning already sing the solfege name? Like, for example, because I started doing the game very early of copying. What is it? So I will say do re mi, and then repeat do re mi. So I'll just mix up the 5 notes and we copy. And do you find is it too early, or should be more gradual?
Numbers are the best way to begin, I think. They're not intimidating. There's something that the kids know. Being able to sing the numbers backwards is, a fun challenge for kindergartners. But I like to add the syllables early on because they're so beautiful and they are magical and they are part of music. So then you get into the tricky issue of fixed do and movable do. And in this country, most students are being taught movable do. And I don't try to change that. I stay in the key of C just to kind of feel as though I'm doing both at the same time. I was very lucky to teach at the special music school, and there they use fixed do. God bless them. So I was able to do a lot of Dalcrosian stuff with that fixed do, and not have to worry about their, going back to their music teacher, because I was their music teacher, to use the syllables. But I like adding them gradually and pretty early on. I mean, again, all the kids know the do re mi song, and so this isn't a foreign language completely.
Very good. Christine, I think you had your hand up.
Yeah, I wanted to say a couple things. And now you said all that, and I want to say even more, but I don't remember. Oh yeah, I was going to say that. Yeah, I also, before Dalcros, I was certified in ORF too, and I have some background in Kodai. And the problem with the pentatonic is that because I live in Italy, and there are actually very few pentatonic songs in Italian. And so it was quite difficult to do with the ORF and the Kodai with that, unless you translate, and then they always kind of come out weird and ugly, and you have to cut off syllables and stuff. So the 5-note scale, works very well with that. I was going to say something about, what were we just talking about? You just said something. Oh, the syllables then, and as far as the syllables, then of course, the numbers do not work either, because except for 3, they're all 2 syllables in English. And it's very, in Italian, it's very awkward. It's very about uno, due. It's very awkward with the 2 syllables. And they're used to immediately with do, re, mi. They have the do, how do you say fisso? The do fixed. They have the fixed do, so that makes it easy. But no, I wanted to say, and this is probably too long to be a discussion for another time, but I was interested with when we were talking about high and low, because I was just reading a book about dyslexic children and the problems with reading the score. But I think it carries over to almost many children. The idea of high and low it can be really confusing when you start reading, because high and low is vertical. And on the piano, it's horizontal. And then I never thought of it, but it's in the cello, for example, high is low. And so there are many different, and then somebody was saying with the guitar too, it's actually, you go down from if I'm correct, the higher string is up and the lower string is down, right? And so it gets to be very confusing. And it gets confusing with the terminology too, depending on your language. Because in Italian, if you say high and low, you can confuse that with volume.
Yeah, well, we can too, yeah.
Yeah, you can too, but you can, it really confuses. I mean, it completely confuses it. It can be, maybe in English, one or the other, but, so you have to use acuto and grave, which are kind of weird words anyway. I was just wondering if in other languages, if there's that kind of difficulty and how people, resolve this thing with high and low, but it might be interesting for a discussion another time, because I thought it was very interesting. Yeah.
If anybody wants to think more about exactly what Christine's describing, this is a discussion about what metaphors do we employ in our life, not just our musical life, but just in general. And the people who literally wrote the book about this is a group called Lakoff and Johnson, Lakoff and Johnson. They wrote the book called The Metaphors We Live By. And it's scholarly research, although the first book, Metaphors We Live By, is quite accessible. It's a small book, it's easy to read, it's in English, but really changed a lot of the way we think about language and the way we start to think about abstract thought. And so in the sort of the thesis of the book is that the only thing you can know without a metaphor is primary experience. And so if you can actually touch it, like you can know what hot is because you can burn your finger on hot. And so when you get too close to, you know, like anything that's actually primary, then that's not abstract, it's concrete, and I can touch it. I can like get in it. But as soon as we want to think about anything that is abstract, we need metaphor to describe what it is. And they go through in the book and list out literally hundreds of metaphors for the different ways people sort of try to process different ideas. And high and low is a major discussion, and heavy light and near, and the way we use near far as are ways that we use to describe more abstract things, for instance, like pitch or tempo or, you know, and all. There's a whole, I mean, there's wonderful things about metaphors for love or metaphors for war and metaphors for, and the way these metaphors can start to overlap, and different cultures, or even we might say different classrooms might use a slightly different metaphor to try to get at the same thing. And then what's the kind of baggage that goes with it? That is, if I use this metaphor, like what other sort of world does that create? It's very exciting, super interesting research. So metaphors we live by, if you just want to get like really geeky about it. It's fascinating, fascinating work. And I think quite relevant to the way that we choose our metaphors. Some of these metaphors, of course, are handed to us through the culture of music education or what have you. But in other cases, we choose how we want to describe whatever the event is or the phenomenon is that we're in front of. And those choices are significant, how we go about it. So I encourage you to look that one up. I just wanted to say, when we were thinking about the singing out loud or singing internally, as was described, you know, in the one little bit, you know, we often use this term, at least in English, we call it inner hearing, or in some cases we call it audiation, as another word that means the same idea. This idea that we can kind of hear pitches without needing to make sound out loud, which of course is central to any sort of deep musicianship, is that we would gain that understanding of how I hear inside me and have an experience of that. One of the things that I've been really excited about recently, and by recently I mean the last handful of years, is that we not only hear internally, but we can also feel internally. And so I can have a sense inside my body of tension or release, or of motion, of the idea of being suspended and being released into sort of stability. And so there's this idea of inner hearing, but one of the ways I've been trying to describe our Dalcroze work is that it's not only inner hearing, but it's almost always matched with motion, which is a way of sort of building in the inner feeling of what it is that's going on as well, or the inner motion of whatever the phenomenon is. And quite often in our settings, we aren't only asking the student to think, and then let's all sit down, but we are building a bodied realization for those pitches as well. And so matching those two things together, I think, is a very specific sort of extra value that's built into our methods. Not to say that other methods aren't also using movement, but we consider it kind of, you know, a near requirement in our work, that we're trying to match the feeling body to the hearing and singing or producing sound instrument. And so I just wanted to point that out, that was something that took me a lot of years to start to notice, that we care very much about that inner hearing, but there's also almost always this inner feeling that is a part of it that I think is really significant. And so just the way Cynthia was outlining those different activities, I mean, that was always there. That was always a part of it. Go ahead, Cynthia. I'm going to give you the final word, and then we're going to watch this next little thing.
I think, you know, we're again, it's a sort of truism. We move and we feel through our movements. And then what do you do with that when you're in a concert hall? You're not going to be up there moving. I call it the inner Shiva. There is this dancer that is still going on inside. The music is tense, and we can't get up, and, you know, we certainly don't want to bother the people around us, but somewhere inside there is this kinetic sense that continues if we're really participating in our listening. And I think Dalcroze really helps us, helps that grow within us, and that's a wonderful thing to have.
So good. We are so thankful for this time with everybody in the room, and really it's honestly, it's a true joy to have any time to hang out with Cynthia. Every so often, Cynthia and I get to have a good phone conversation. And we don't live that far from each other, but it seems only at conferences that we get to actually hang out in the same room. So thank you so much, Cynthia. Catherine's back. It's good. Good job, Catherine. It's just in time. We have 9 minutes left. Catherine, well, Catherine, I'm gonna ask you to just set it up. Tell us what we're about to watch.
So when lockdown happened in this country, children were not at school, and I was trying to homeschool my 2 children and, you know, do everything at home and teach and be creative. And I found sticking within my own 4 walls and having to teach and do everything all at home quite constricting. So when schools opened up and my daughter went back to school, she didn't want to go on public transport. She wanted to cycle. So I said, well, I'll cycle with you and check that, you know, it's safe and everything. So I cycled her there, and then I have a gorgeous cycle back, a traffic-free route along the south coast on my way back home. And I stopped at the same place every day and took a photo for about 6 months. And then I chose some of those photos and put them together in a montage. So what you'll see is chronological, but not every day. So there might be Tuesday one week and Thursday the next, and then nothing for a couple of weeks, etc. So I stood in the same place, looked out at we've got a wind farm just off the south coast, and I took a photo of the wind farm. It's not visible in every photo because of the weather sometimes. And just took a photo every day and then put it to a piece of bark that I recorded and made it into a video, which I'm going to share with you now.
Very good. So let's look at this. Hold on, I gotta get my windows to make sense. Here we go, 2.5 minutes. How lovely. So nice. I look at that and I think I'm so glad that Adriana is on the call today, because I know that a number of us use all sorts of different visual imagery as we're trying to explain different concepts, you know, that we're exploring. I know Adriana does actually a good bit with architecture and and all of that. So I don't know, we got 4 minutes left. What did you see? Anybody want to try to talk about? Go ahead, Adriana.
I would hire her for MTV, so that changing the image at the end of the measure or the phrase or the changing of chords, right in time. It was very lonely. It was lonely, and it was interesting. And the choice of image and the music, I think it was very well done. I enjoyed
Anyone
that.
else? Anyone else have a thought? Go ahead, Cynthia. Oh, you got to unmute.
Was that a person in the last, it was so interesting, I had no idea of the size of anything. And then when at the end there was this little person, I realized, oh my God, I was looking over a great expanse, much bigger than I realized. That was cute and telling.
The matching the imagery to that particular piece changed the piece for me, which I think really is quite Dalcrosian in the way we think about how we represent, music through imagery, or through motion, is our idea, so the whole root of the plastique anime, if you ask me, what's going on in one of those exercises is that we're trying to reveal something in the music through choices, through visual and motion choices that we're making. And so, yes, of course, the music has meaning with my eyes closed, but when I decide to enact certain parts of it or make change or make motion at certain points, I'm highlighting certain things about the score that wouldn't have been highlighted necessarily if I'd had my eyes closed. And what I believe I was just witnessing in the little video is it's not like there were that many sort of bold choices or something going on. There wasn't a lot of action on the screen, but even just that little technique in the video that made the picture seem to sort of expand or sort of move away or move toward, gives us this sense that, wait, something's happening right now. It's not like nothing's happening, something's happening. And then as there were shifts at different chordal moments, then all of a sudden we get this sort of like, oh goodness, it's time for another thing and time for another thing. It's really so much in common with really, if I were just to conduct that piece at this large gesture, it's not uncommon. It's like quite the same, I think. So here we have one way we might think about that video is the cinematographer or the editor is conducting the piece in the same way that my arm is going to gesture through. I'm not just going to chord and now I wait and nothing happens, and then chord and I wait and nothing happens, but we're going to lean in, and it has this sort of like resistance quality to it. Just the pacing of that video motion was really slow. And so I feel this kind of like, it's not Russian, but man, it's definitely going somewhere. And then at some point, new motion. And it extends, and new motion. And so I thought that was really telling. And then you pair that with this massive skyscape that just feels like miles long, like how far are we actually seeing? And so it's so like literally large that all of a sudden also the piece can mean something different. Go ahead, Catherine.
That's really lovely, thank you. What really struck me, what I was expecting, stopping at the same place on the way home every day, was to see the changing seasons and maybe the sun moving. And of course that didn't happen, because with the sea, with the tides and the color of the water and the color of the clouds, it's much more changing depending on the energy of the air than it is through the seasons. So I didn't get what I was expecting. I was thinking, if I take one of a tree, that would have been very different, but the sea doesn't really fall into the seasons in that way. It's much more cyclical daily. So I became fascinated with the colors of the water particularly, and just stopping at that very same point. So my life felt the same. Here we go, 10 to 9 again the next day, let's stop and take a photo. But what I got back when I looked at the photos was so different from my experience, and I found that looking at it from the other way, very, very interesting and revealing. It was a lovely thing
Such
to pop down, actually.
I'm
So
kind of
lovely.
curious, how did you time it when you were, putting your photos with the music? What was your sort of technical process of doing that?
I just used iMovie, and you can choose how long you want any image to stay on the screen for, and then you can do the zooming in and zooming out for that length of time. So I just listened and then chose how long I wanted each photo for. So the audio was one track and the pictures were another track, and you can just wiggle them. I'm not very technically minded, but it was really quite easy.
I just have to, we have to finish because we're 2 minutes over, and we try really hard to start and end on time. But I will just say, I did some years ago, I enrolled in a PhD program under the heading of design. My PhD is in design. And when I was making my pitch to the School of Design as to why they should bring a musician in to get a degree in design, we recognized that their work is about crafting experience. Is a lot of modern design is about they call it interaction design. And so the experience of being you and the artifact, the thing that you're going to manipulate, between you and your iPhone, or between you and your steering wheel, or between you and your whatever. And they're trying to craft that experience. And we made an argument that said, well, if you're going to mess with experience, you need a musician, because this is what we do. We craft experience. Like, we have a sense for that. And so for Catherine to say, I don't really know what I'm doing, I just kind of found an iMovie thing and I pushed a couple buttons. No, what we all easily saw was that your expertise as somebody who feels the feels, we jokingly say, your expertise in being able to manipulate moment to moment and make it build and shed, and being sort of acutely aware of what was happening in the music at any of those points, gave you the intuition to go, oh, and now it's time to push the button. Whereas someone else who doesn't have our training wouldn't necessarily, not everybody feels what you feel, folks. I'm telling you. I've done the research. I can talk about that for hours. Not everybody under the sun feels what you feel. And so these are, we say, you all got superpowers, and should recognize that you have an awareness of the world and of life in ways that other people don't, just being the musicians that you are. We are out of time, and I'm sorry, but we try always to start on time. Today we ended a little bit late, but we leave you wanting more. I want to say hi, Emma. Thanks so much for jumping in at the end. This is Emma Shubin, our co-host and dear friend. We've already said scholarships are available to everybody. Everyone, thank you so much for being here. Please sign up for Dawn's short course and for Lauren's masterclass this weekend. I promise you it will be worth your time. And we look forward in the future to a masterclass with Cynthia, where we can do a more long form discussion. And I hope to see everybody back at the next meetup. Have a good one.
Bye, everybody.